Hey everyone, hope you are having a great day. Happy Friday. We are here today to discuss how will you invest in yourself? And so my name is Latasha Johnson. I am the host of the Hustle and Faith podcast. I am also the creator of Single Avenue Squad and author of my new book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right. So today I wanted to discuss which will be our actual final chapter of going through the book. I'm reading different excerpts of the book. So in the event that you want to get caught up, feel free to take a look in the description area where I will have a copy of the book information as well as the playlist in case you want to go back and check it out. So today we are here to discuss how will you invest in yourself? And so that's a question that I think a lot of us don't take enough time to really, really count the cost and think about. We just continue to move through our life daily and we don't think about the future. And I don't mean, you should be agonizing over the future, but we need to at least have some sort of plan or idea in our next steps, right? So, what I'm going to do is read excerpts from my book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right. And so I'll be reading excerpts from chapter 13, which again is the last chapter of the book. And then I'll have questions as well. So feel free to jump in the comment section. I'll periodically be checking that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in case you're on the replay team. No worries. I read every comment, so I will definitely see it. Okay. All right. So let's jump in. So question number 1, imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Albert Einstein. How does this apply to your life? So what I'm going to do is read a little bit from the book. So I'm going to read an excerpt from the book, and I've got my questions here. Sorry for the noisiness there, but okay. So I'm going to read a little bit on page 170 in the event that you are following along. Okay. One of my favorite quotes is imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions by Albert Einstein. I immediately fell in love with this quote because it reaffirms what has been instilled in me since childhood. You are what you think. And if you want to take a look at the verse, Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 through 25. The images we embrace and the frequency with which we do so are the previews that will shape our lives. As children, we had dreams of what we wanted to be when we grew up. Sadly, somewhere along the way, many lose that eagerness and motivation to pursue their dreams and turn them into reality. So as we grow older, we allow outside influences like family members, circumstances, the list goes on, to persuade us into believing that perhaps our dreams were not meant to be achieved. This could not be further from the truth. Your life is a movie. You must embrace all the roles you play: writer, director, producer, and actress. It's up to you to embrace your roles. You have the power to revamp the script if you are not enjoying the current attraction. Too many fail to change because we allow our previews to be dominated by fear, frustration, stress, worry, and discouragement. And so, my question to you is, how does this apply to your life? Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions, Albert Einstein, right? So, how does this apply to your life? So, we are what we think. And so, if you are constantly thinking negative thoughts, guess what's going to end up happening? A lot of negativity is going to come your way. And I'm not telling you this because, I have literally experienced it. I've lived quite a bit of, I've had quite a few experiences where I was thinking negatively, and all of a sudden those came to fruition. And our words are a lot more powerful than what we think. And that's not just some mumbo jumbo. I mean, God literally tells us that our words are powerful because he told us to speak life. And so if you're constantly speaking negativity over your life, guess what's going to end up happening? because your words are powerful. You are literally creating your future with your words. What you're stating, what you're thinking, all of that ties in together. And so if you want to have a positive future and you want to, bring a lot more positivity and create a positive environment, not only do you have to believe that, but you got to be speaking that as well. You can't, the two have to go hand in hand, because otherwise you're going to have a situation where you're thinking that uh your thinking is not going to be in a position to dictate your words. Okay? Like if you're thinking negative, you're going to speak negative. Okay? None of this tricking yourself. You literally have to believe what you're saying, and then your actions are going to follow. Okay? So that's one thing that I think about with imagination's everything. Excuse me. And so it's really important that we need to make sure that that's what we're applying to our life. Take stock of how you are talking to yourself as well. Saying things like, "Oh, I'm so stupid," or "That was really dumb," or, I get it. I slip and say these things sometimes too, but I'm much more cognizant of that. And I'll just tell myself, "Oh, wait a minute. No, the action I did might not have been what I intended, but I myself am not stupid. I am a human being. I make mistakes. And so get better at catching yourself and how you speak to yourself. Okay. All right. So that's question number one. I don't see any comments, so I'll just keep going. All right. Question number two. What emotions typically dominate your previews? So again, I'm not going to read the excerpt again, but in the past, especially when I was younger, I had a lot of negative self-talk. I did not think that I was enough. And then years later, I found out, ironically, my name Tasha in Swahili means enough. So love the irony there. But I didn't think that I was enough because I kept unnecessarily comparing myself to other people. Even though I have my mom telling me, if you're not willing to do what they're doing, stop looking at them. Right. But I was unnecessarily comparing myself to other people. I was allowing myself to accept negativity that was projected onto me, ridiculous, comments, and trying not to be stereotypes and all this other stuff. I just, it got exhausting, and I allowed all of that negativity to be ingrained inside of me until I finally just snapped. And I'm like, okay, I cannot continue living my life this way. And I really got more into the word and realized that I didn't have to live my life that way. God never intended for me to live my life that way. That was my choice to embrace all of that stupidity. It was up to me to do that. And once I figured that out, my life really took off after that. I was able to let go of a lot of people, let go of different toxic situations that were not working for me. He opened my eyes to a lot of things. And we need to be open to the fact that we're not going to be in a position to see what God has in store for us until we place ourselves in a position to accept the fact that we need to uh, do a better job of talking to ourselves, what we're believing in ourselves, and what do we have our faith in. All of those coincide together in order to ensure that you are able to see the plans that he has in store for you, because he's not going to cast his pearls before swine, right? So if you're constantly thinking negative thoughts, if you are constantly surrounding yourself with negative people, why would he give you a beautiful gift, right? Because quite frankly, you're just going to lose it because you don't have the mindset to keep it, because you're not being positive and you're not placing yourself in a position to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, right? Because if you have so much negativity inside of you, that's preventing you from being wise and realizing that not everyone has your best interest at heart. Okay. So that would be my answer to number two. All right, let's keep going. And again, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to comment in the chat box. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave comments too, because I read everything. All right. So, what is the acronym for single? So, in my book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right, for those that are coming onto the live late, that is the book, right? So, there is an acronym for what I believe the word single means. Okay, so I created an acronym, and I think you might find it to be extremely beneficial, especially if you are in that situation as well. All right, so in the event that you are following along, okay, 172. All right, so from this point forward, whenever you hear the word single, I want you to think of it as an acronym that stands for special, invest, network, growth, light, and educate. Now, I created this acronym to serve as a wonderful reminder to ensure that I'm doing everything in my power to be a savvy single avenue resident. This acronym has been a tremendous help to me, and I'm sure you will also find it to be beneficial in your quest to live an extraordinary life. Hopefully, you realize that although Single Avenue has its ups and downs, it's not the kiss of death. And so my question to you is, what is the acronym for single? And so I just went through that. But the reason I just want to go a little bit deeper into the reason I created that acronym is because I truly believe that when we get in certain situations that we tend to feel overwhelmed, or we're down and down in the dumps and we just feel negative. I believe in having certain things to fall back on. I like having one word or an acronym to fall back on. And so, when I was younger and thinking more in terms of, oh, I used to view being single as being difficult. Now I don't care. I'm happily single, trust me. Um, but I used to feel that way. And then as I was working through those thoughts, I came up with this acronym and it was super helpful for me. And so we're going to dig into some of the reasons how I came about with this acronym and what it stands for and how you can use it as well. Okay. So the S was for special, right? So what makes you special? And so for me, let's add, for me, I thought of this particular verse, which I really love. And that's First Peter chapter 4, verse 10. And so it reads, as each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. And so when we think about special, I want you to think about the characteristics of what makes you special. There's so much chaos and destruction in the world. You don't need me to tell you that. But each one of us has been endowed with gifts. Okay. We all have gifts and talents. And some of us are not using those gifts and talents to help other people because we may not know what they are. And so I'm not going to be in a position to go through all of that here. I do have a workbook that accompanies this book, and we go through a variety of questions and exercises to help you with that. But very quickly, I do want you to at least start thinking about what makes you special. Because believe it or not, you may be the missing piece to someone else's puzzle. And the longer it takes for you to realize what makes you unique, the longer it's going to prevent you from helping out other people. We're in this world together. We all connect in some way, shape, or form. And so if you want to really make an impact, which is what God really wants for us to do, is to make an impact, you need to figure out what makes you special first, right? What are your gifts? What are your talents? And then once you figure that out, you're going to be well on your way to help serve others. And yes, I said serve others because it's not fair for you to keep your gifts and talents to yourself. We're here to help each other. And quite frankly, if some people were not so selfish, you would not have all this chaos and destruction that we're currently seeing in the world. It's because some of these folks are so they haven't taken the time to figure out what makes them unique, their gifts and talents. And so when they see other people using their gifts and talents in a way that resonates with a lot of people that they see the respect, they get jealous. And instead of working towards trying to figure out what their gifts and talents are, they would rather dim your light, which God wants us to shine, right? Or they just allow their jealousy and their anger and selfishness to just get so out of hand that they just go on a rampage and just start destroying everything that they see because they don't know how to control the fact that they don't know where they stand in this world. Okay. So that would be my answer to number 4, what makes you special. So, my question to you, number 5, is how are you going to invest in yourself? So, let me read a little bit of number page 173. Okay. So, here's another verse, James 1:5. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. And so, how will you invest in yourself? A lot of people are very quick to say, well, I don't know how to do XYZ. I can't do this or I can't do that simply because they may not have the knowledge. Okay, what are you doing to acquire that knowledge? So many of us sit back and complain, and we haven't even taken the first step to acquire what it is that we feel that we need and can't do. Okay, there's always a solution to an issue that we may be experiencing. And many of those issues are found within the Bible, regardless of what people may say. All of your answers are within the Bible. But if there are, sorry, I've got like allergies. I don't know what's going on here, but but there are so many times that a lot of us are like, oh, I can't do this. And then we just throw up our hands. I'll be honest, me, myself included, I'll never forget when I first started doing like video tutorials on YouTube. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to edit. And, I would outsource the smallest things because I just did not think that I had the capability to edit. And now I'm like editing all over the place. Right. So I took the time to figure out how to make that happen. If we are lacking wisdom, whether it be in our personal or spiritual, or personal life or business life, we need to figure out how do we go get that wisdom? Where is the missing piece? And again, that's going back to being special, right? Someone out there has a gift of editing. All I needed to do was figure out who that person was, and then I was able to learn from that person, and I went from there. There's a variety of ways that we can invest in ourselves. There's courses, there's consulting. My background, I've got over 20 years of experience in marketing. I've worked in pretty much every facet of marketing. So brand management, category management, I've worked for major, a variety of the major marketing research companies and firms and manufacturers. I mean, not trying to brag or flex, but I've got a pretty extensive background. So I do consult with small business owners. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have the time to invest in learning something, then you've got to be willing to pay for that knowledge. But if you do not have the money, then you have to be willing to invest the time. Okay. It's impossible to have both here. Okay. And there have been so many times in my life where I did not have the money to pay for something. So I went to the school of YouTube. At least we have YouTube. Okay. Because back in the day, I used to have to go into, I actually physically go into different schools and stuff to learn what it was that I wanted to learn. And so I really want you to take it seriously. You've got this beautiful technology, right? We've got technology that we can get the answers at the snap of our fingers. And so many of us are not using that to its full potential. So when you want to invest in yourself, you're going to go out of your way to figure out who's got the answers to your questions. Okay. So if I'm looking to learn more about, not trying to toot my own horn, but I've got some workshops that I'm planning for the future. If I'm looking to learn more about launching a podcast or marketing or how do I self-publish books, I could be your girl for that, right? But even if I'm not the person for that, just don't sit back and throw your hands up in the air. Get the help that you need because the sooner you get the help that you need, it's going to place you in a position to get to where it is that God wants you to go. But you can't, I was thinking about Monopoly. You can't you can't collect go and you can't collect the $200 without making forth the effort to actually play the game, right? So that's something I want you to keep in mind. All right. So we're plugging through these questions here and no comments. How will you find opportunities to use your gift? So let's turn to 174. And so, all right. It's important for you to surround yourself with people who will encourage you to use your gift. It's imperative to find a circle that will help you lift as you climb. It's extremely difficult to execute your gift when you haven't seen someone who is successful, who looks like you, or has been in your situation. Yes, I know that with God, all things are possible. However, some of us fail to realize that God strategically placed people throughout our lives. And once that connection is made with that person or persons, right, it will help us to save time and propel us to the next level. And so, my question to you is, how are you going to find these opportunities to use your gift? Google is our friend, guys. If you are looking to learn more about um, XYZ, all you have to do is Google that particular topic. There's meetups. Again, I already said Google, but there's meetups. We've got libraries. We've got so many different ways that we can access the information to place us in a better position to use our gifts. Okay. Speaking engagements, doing what I'm doing now, just go live, get rid of the fear and just go live and say what you have to say. I don't want us to continue to live in fear, and because doing so is going to prevent you from finding these opportunities. Okay. And I'm really glad. I was nervous when I had started my podcast and when I had started even going live. I was nervous the first time I went live. Now I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. But make those opportunities. Okay. You can find them by making them. And the way you do that again is leveraging the technology you have, leveraging the people that you have. There's different networking events for the topics that interest you the most, that will enable you to cultivate your gift. So that's one thing you could think about. All right, number 7, how can you surround yourself with people who will encourage you to use your gift? And so we kind of went over some of that already, but one of the ways that you can encourage yourself uh, is making sure that you're in the right rooms. I really do enjoy going to very strategic networking groups, okay? Because I know that God is the one who ultimately opens up all the doors that I need, but it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt to be in the room as well, right? So one of the ways that I thoroughly enjoy surrounding myself with people who encourage me to use my gift is making sure that I am a part of specific networking groups. I belong to quite a few different groups, and on Facebook, I invest in my education, and that's one of the ways I do that. And I'm constantly looking for other opportunities to place me in those rooms. So there's different websites that you can use. I'm just trying to think of some off the top of my head. Meetup.com is a really great website that I have used that enabled me to find connect with different folks who have my interests. So I have different language groups because I enjoy studying Spanish. So I found a meetup group that of other folks that enjoy studying Spanish. Again, there's different ways that you can connect with people. And so I just thought of that one off the top of my head. But if I can think of some more, I'll leave them in the comment section. Okay. So that's one of the ways that you can surround yourself with people who will encourage you to use your gifts. And of course, going to libraries have different events as well. That's another thing that you can think about. Drawing a blank because there's just so many different ways that we can connect with each other online now. It's just crazy. So there's no excuse why you can't find your community. Okay. All right. So how will you scale your gift so it benefits the most people in the least amount of time? All right, so let's go to let's see here. One of my other favorite verses is, let's see here. I want to read. Okay, let's do First Timothy 4:15. Okay. So practice these things, immerse yourself in them so that all may see your progress. Okay. And then there's another verse that I enjoy, and that's Matthew 5:16. So these two kind of go hand in hand. In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So what I mean by scale your gift is, let's say you have the gift of exhortation. You're a born teacher, you enjoy encouraging people. One of the easiest ways that you could go about scaling that particular gift, especially if people constantly ask you the same question over and over and over again, one of the ways that you can scale your particular gift is to, yeah, not everyone has to do this because I don't believe everyone deserves a mic, but you could think about starting a podcast. You could think about hosting different workshops. You could think about, um, I don't know, like doing like a TED Talk. Again, think about ways where you can convey your message once and it reaches the masses. We have so many different ways that we can do that now. And so I want you to really think twice about how you can go about doing that. Okay. We've got too much technology out here for me to be the only one doing this or other folks to be the only folks doing this. We all have the same equal opportunity to get our voices heard. So I want you to start thinking about different ways that you can scale your gift. All right. Okay. Last but not least. Oh, not last but not least, but I forgot I had this question next. What does it mean to lift as you climb? And so I don't see any comments, so I'm gonna just keep going here. What it means to lift as you climb means that you, as you're trying to climb that ladder of success, and again, I'm not talking about the corporate ladder, okay? Because that's definitely not the ladder I'm talking about. But as you climb up your ladder of success, whatever you define that to look like, it's going to take a lot of hard work, right? But you don't have to just focus on you. There's other folks that you can bring up along the way. So the what I believe lift as you climb means is, as you're working hard to achieve your goals, make sure that you're bringing other folks with you along the way in your journey. Now, not everyone is meant to be there in your journey, but if you are in a position to help other folks achieve their dreams while you're achieving yours, why wouldn't you want to do that? Right? There's no reason in the world that you should not be helping out other folks when you are in a position to do so. Life is hard enough already. We've got quite a few people who are hell bent on trying to make sure that not everyone is in a position to enjoy their life. Not sure why. They're just, they've got that insecurity and they just let all of that insecurity and jealousy and all that anger just cause them to rot inside, right? With so much hatred. And so seeing that we have so many of those type of folks in the world, if you're not one of them, do your job and make sure that you are helping other folks achieve their goals and dreams as well. Okay. Especially, you're already on the way up to the top. It takes 2 seconds to reach back so both of you can make it. Okay. But if other folks don't want to join you, be sure to let them go because, that can hinder you from making it to the top. Okay. So I'm talking about folks that willingly want to be successful. Help them out. All right. Okay. Last but not least, the next time someone wants to know why you're single, how should you respond? All right. So that is literally, let's see here. And that is the last question we have here. So that is on page 176. If you are following along, that is literally the last page of the book. It is my prayer that whether you, okay, it is, let me start that over. It is my prayer that whether your residency on Single Avenue is temporary or permanent, Your time is filled with joy you discovered and are using your God given gifts to slay every goal God placed in your heart. So the next time inquiring minds want to know why you're single, you can confidently respond that God's honoring your request to live an extraordinary life. Mystery solved. All right. So, first of all, thank you all for bearing with me because it's like starting to get dark here. And that's why, I just didn't want to turn the lights on right now. um, but I am a huge proponent in making sure that I live an extraordinary life, and so I truly believe that can be done with or without Mr. Right. And so that is of no one else's business to think that you're strange or weird just because you're happy without having Mr. Right in your life. Okay. And that's if God decides to give you a Mr. Right. Like literally, you can be happy. And that's the whole premise of this book is that God wants us to live an extraordinary life. That can be with or without Mr. Right. That is why I created that title because so many people have been conditioned into thinking that you cannot have an extraordinary life without Mr. Right. And I'm here to dispel that myth. And just in case folks are wondering, mystery solved. God literally is answering my request to live an extraordinary life. I have never, ever, ever wanted to be one of those folks that looks back on life and it's filled with regrets. And I am so glad that God has just given me the life that I never dreamed for myself. And I just want to make sure, in case other single women are feeling down or dejected or feeling like something is wrong with them just because they're single. No, God has the best in mind for all of us, right? And so if your desire is to live the extraordinary Christian life, and Mr. Right may not be in the picture. Which is more important to you? Would you rather be married and miserable, or would you be single and happy? Or would you be single and happy? Because in the event that Mr. Right, and I'm just saying Mr. Right, not saying like that is the perfect scenario that God wanted, but in the event that that is what God wanted for you, you know, he'd give it to you when it's time. His timing is perfect and his gifts are perfect. So I just want you to realize that again, you are enough. You are enough with or without Mr. Right in your life. Okay. I really want you to believe that. And I want you to embrace that. And I truly hope that when you have the opportunity, if you have not already done so, please feel free to pick up a copy of How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right. Um, I have a workbook that also accompanies this book, and I really, I've gotten great feedback, and I really do believe that in the event that you are trying to do a lot of soul searching, trying to figure out where you are in your spiritual and business life, because there's quite a few business components in this book as well, it is going to help you out. Okay. And again, thank you so much for bearing with me with the darkening light. It's just, I don't want to get up right now and turn the light on across the room. So um, I'm really, really appreciative of the support that I've received. And I just want to share with you some upcoming events. Make sure that you are signed up with the Hustle and Faith podcast and the With or Without Mr. Right website. I've got some events coming up that I know my ladies are going to enjoy. Okay. If you have had a book on your mind, I'm going to be hosting some workshops regarding to teach you how to self-publish your own book. I'm going to be hosting some workshops regarding how to create and promote your own audiobook, how to launch a podcast. I've got some webinars coming up. So I want to make sure that you don't miss out. Check out the description and make sure that you are signed up. And once again, I'll be going live every now and then. Excuse me. I'll be going live. I've been much more diligent because I was going through the book, discussing different aspects of the book, but I will definitely be going live and letting you know in advance when I do. So once again, make sure you're signed up. Thank you so much. And I truly, truly do appreciate the support. Have a great weekend. Take care.